Yeah. I mean, so I think you probably already touched on a lot of this, but you call it what's sort of needed is what you propose a massive transformative purpose for humanity. And I kind of put in my notes, whoa, because that's a bold, that's like, So explain really what you mean by that, and again, I think you touched on some of it already. But what are you proposing there?
Yeah. So I think I was just thinking we are, yes, we've got nations and so forth, but I think it's very important that we need to think about the big picture. Even if you look at Elon Musk, he's trying to think about multiplanetary species and all sorts of big questions, and those questions that you ask. But I feel we need purpose, we need hope, and we need a common purpose. And the reason I'm talking about MTP, massive transformative, because I'm applying this to myself. I don't know if you know Peter Diamandis of Singularity University and a few others. They talk about massive transformative purpose and the importance of you need to have that for businesses if you want to scale, and so you want to make sure it's transformative but also massive, and the massive is also where you get the scale. But I think for humanity, we need to think about this at scale as well. So what I define as a massive transformative purpose is we need to evolve civilization and humanity. And I'm stating specifically, evolving a dynamic, empathic, so we need empathy. We need to be dynamic, so it can't be just stagnant. We need to be able to change quickly and adapt very quickly. Obviously, we want to build a prosperous society. And I think the world is better than 100 years. More people has got more access to more things, but there's also a lot of polarity, and also, you've got a lot of rich people, and you've got the middle class being hollowed out. So we're clearly, on an economic front, struggling, but we want more people prosperous. And you can define what do you mean by prosperous. It's not just in a monetary sense. So we want prosperous, thriving, and we want a self-optimizing civilization. So it needs to self-optimize. And to optimize, you need to think about what are we optimizing for?
Right.
Are we trying to maximize quality of life? Or are we just about GDP? Are we just about, so we need to think about what is it, how can we maximize quality of life, meaning of life, for as many people as possible. We live on this planet for a short time. How can we, if we've got goals that we try and optimize, that's more looking at that. I think that is more inspiring future.
Yeah.
It's a future that you want to say, I want to wake up. It's like Elon Musk is also saying, I want to wake up, I want to be excited about the world and what I'm doing. So for me, it's about, we want to make sure that it benefits everyone in sustainable ways. Clearly, it needs to be sustainable. And we need to do this in harmony with nature. We can't just do what we've been doing last century. So we've got to be smarter. We know about climate change and so forth. So that's the broad one. But then I divide it into 4 big pieces. And then I've got specific 14 NTP goals that complement the the United Nations SDG goals, Sustainable Development Goals as well. But just to summarize it very quickly, so on a systems level, I'm saying that we need to drive beneficial outcomes for all life. And I believe, and I think this is where it's maybe debate, and we can talk about that, I think it's very important that we think decentralized. Even if you look at the human body, I think we operating a lot of systems going on in the human body that's decentralized as well. So we need to be adaptive. Our body's very adaptive. We've got an immune system that's, if there's something going wrong here with my knee or something, then the focus is trying to solve that part. We're very adaptive in healing and so forth. We've got to be agile. We know that. We need to think about our economic, social, and governance systems. So all of those systems, we probably need to re-engineer that. And what I'm really behind, I think it's very important to reward active participation and positive contributions to society and civilization. But then we need to define and agree what is positive contributions and so forth as well. And then we need to keep peace and protect humanity from any potential harm in elastic ways. Again, I'm talking about being dynamic around that. But we've got to respect individual freedom and privacy. That's why I've got a problem with, if you look at the East and China, if you think about digital dictatorship, they're on a path to digital dictatorship with that authoritarianism. And where you don't respect individual freedom and privacy. So we need to get that balance. So I think if you look at the East with collectivism, clearly we need to think we are still part of society of a global community. So I think we need to think about the bigger picture. We need to think collective as well. But we need a balance between that and individualism. In Africa, they talk about Ubuntu as well. So I think there's a fine balance needed there. So we've got to be more elastic around that. So I think we can do a lot with our systems and have a clear purpose of where we want to actually drive. What is the kind of systems that we want as well? And then obviously, just to finish off the rest of it, quantity is for me important through using and democratizing knowledge, science, and smart technology and other tools in optimal human-centric ways. I think it's very important to be human-centric. I worry about a world that's not where tools dictate, technology dictate. We've got a great opportunity where technology can adjust more to us, especially with AI, with machine learning. We've got mouses and we've got all sorts of different things, but we've got now technology that we can interact more naturally with technology, and it can maybe understand us better, and so forth. But anyway, so human-centric, I think it needs to be based on wisdom, good values, ethics. We need to dynamically solve problems. We need to create opportunities in abundance, and we need to share that benefits with everyone. And then for me, the kicker is really quality. We need to maximize quality of life. Community building, I think the future should be more local, more human. We don't have to go back to the tribes, but if you think about when we started off as humanity, Homo sapiens, it was more kind of very tribal, but 150 people in your local community and stuff. But obviously now it could be more virtual, it could be digital. There's like-minded people across the globe, so it could be in the metaverse. That's a big other discussion as well. But I think virtues and character strength development, I don't think we put enough focus on that. It's almost like we leave it to maybe some of the parents, or we do a little bit at school, but not really. We're not equipping people with sense-making, well-being, meaningful living. What does it mean to live meaningful? So I think we can do a lot more there. So I think, for me, that's very much part of that purpose. And then the last thing is just, we obviously want to live in the best possible livable habitat. And think about, for all living organisms and the environment and our place in the universe. So that's, in summary, the massive transformative purpose. There's obviously a lot more to dig in if you especially look at the goals. So I think thought about what are specific goals that we haven't defined that's complementary to the SDGs, that's specifically looking at this MTP for humanity. So yeah, this is where it comes in.
Yeah, I mean, it's lofty goals. I mean,
okay, now
understatement of the.
I know you're going to say, is this guy realistic? What is going on?
Well, I don't think. I mean, people that change the world aren't ever thinking realistic, right? They're not. So, you got to think nuts, and then there'll be 3% of it that actually is implementable in the near future, and then that opens up 20% of the next part of it to be implementable. I mean, that's just how really big change happens. And so, no, it's pretty neat. And now you're also, so you propose Sapiens as sort of
Yes.
you quantum. I mean, I read that the summary was, a decentralized, human-centric, and user-controlled AI-driven super platform. Again, I said, whoa. Yeah. And then, and and at first I wasn't quite getting it. Then I listened to a couple talks that you had given it, and it really started to resonate. It made a lot of sense. I mean, it really, really did. And it certainly did.
I'm still exploring as well, and as more I talk to people as well, I'm calibrating my thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, because I think now I sort of read that as, and I want to ask you to explain it in a second, but like, what does that mean tangibly? Does this mean that we have little AI processes running on our phone, in our pocket, in our brains, in our houses, in our car, and it's just they're all sort of synced to be our little personal AI agent that, or maybe even with Neuralink, they're in our brains. Like it's all, because I think eventually there's going to be that symbiosis, right? At some point, we'll talk about that later. But I guess before we jump into all that, just Sapiens in general, what do you think is what does this future look like?
Yeah, Vinny. So I think, do you know what? Actually, with the current business initiatives, I'm building little building blocks. When I talk about ViV as a teenage mental wellness companion, 24/7 mental wellness companion for teenagers, or when we look at Journey Wellness, that's more for everyone. And it's not only looking at mental health, but it's looking at total well-being. Those are almost like little building blocks, experimenting how AI-driven platform plays. So I'm busy with AI-driven platform plays. It's similar to what, if you think about Amazon, Netflix, Google, Facebook, a lot of these companies, and there's a lot of others in social media, they're all platform plays. And so I know exactly what you can do. You can obviously build recommendation engines. You can also create psychological control vectors, similar to what Facebook is doing. So I can see where you can control things. And we're also busy with future cities where we think about community-based, basically almost like Sapiens, but more focus on community-based super app for individuals that's looking after their needs within a community as well. And you can look at it holistically, financial wellness, health wellness, we can look at security, all sorts of different things. So with Sapiens specifically, and this is, I think we can turn, for me, the concern is always who's benefiting from this. Obviously, clearly, we are benefiting from Google, from all the services, because we give our data for free, but now the data being monetized by the tech giants or the AI-driven platform plays. How can we turn this around, given that we've got blockchain technology, we've got obviously AI that can operate on your phone, everywhere, in your house, in a car, everywhere. So we're anyway moving towards the intelligence of things. We talk about the Internet of Things, but the intelligence of things, where you will have compute everywhere and intelligence built in everywhere. So we're anyway moving towards that world. What we need is almost like, I know there's one of the billionaires that said they want to build the anti-Facebook, or it's more kind of a decentralized or different type of platform. What I see with Sapiens is an opportunity where we can define the whole architecture, the nature of the whole system, to say we want to empower individuals, communities, people on the individual community or group front, to actually monetize their data and services. And you can obviously look at families, you can look at virtual groups, companies, communities, cities, city-states, smart towns, digital nations and beyond. Maybe the future, we'll see how that all turns out in the future. So instead of having AI, because there's AI agents sitting in the platforms and trying to control you, if you've got an AI agent that's looking at the entity, and it could be an individual, it could be a community, it could be a family or whatever, and trying to say, I want to optimize for that entity. And for me, there's a broader thing here. It is really about, if you think about life-wide learning, if you think about decision-making, if I've got almost a companion that supports me with sense-making, trying to, say for instance with the vaccines, I've got something that's helping me to form proper or balanced opinions, almost like helping me with steel manning certain opinions, try to educate me and also understand where I am on my maturity curve in terms of sense-making. Obviously, you need quite an advanced AI to do those kind of things, but we can start building those kind of things. We can already build practical applications where you can have a companion. So I'm busy building this. But what I would like to do is to use those kind of building blocks and turn it absolutely around, where you say, let people benefit and have full control of their data. So that when I look at data, I think it's very important we talk about cybersecurity and those kind of things as well, but you want to have building privacy and governance. You want protection for your data, and obviously, if some other companies are using your data, maybe you're getting monetized, but you should be aware of that and how it's being utilized. And this is again where ethical AI comes into play, trustworthy AI, where regulation comes in, and maybe you need to prove that you are doing things in a trustworthy way. But with Sapiens, you've got a whole system that's designed from the ground up to work like that. So I think we can go a long way. It's going to be very interesting if you think about personal AI assistants and wellness companions. What does it look like for a smart town, for a community? What does it look like for a family? And then once you've got these digital kind of assistants, you can say who should they interact with. You can try to optimize things for a family or for a community based on this as well. So I think there's incredible potential to use AI for good in so many different ways. So education is for me huge. So I think if you look at the positive applications of AI, education, healthcare, is huge. Those two are. That's why I'm pretty much focused on that. I've invested in another company called the Student Hub, where they're also building AI-driven digital platforms and stuff. So
when do you sleep?
Yeah, but yeah.
maybe you're actually not even human. Maybe you are. I'm actually talking. You've already created your digital twin, and here you are. That's
So it's not, there's so much to do here. I obviously have to look at my own well-being as well.
Sure,
so,
but you're so inspired by this work. I don't feel like you consider.
No, I'm passionate.
This doesn't drain you.
About
I feel like this energizes you. So yeah, that's the way it's supposed to be. That's exactly what.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So you mentioned these AI companions. So you said that a lot, and a lot of your notes had said that. And I'm thinking, okay, what does that mean in a practical sense? Are these literally? So yeah, is this? I just look at these as like they're little my own custom little processes, because everything's we're talking about. I always like to boil this down to folks that are really basic. I'm not an AI, ML, or deep learning expert, but software is just software. Is just it's just code running on hardware. They still need electrons and gates to open and close. We only have binary event. So at the basic principles of just how software turns physics into things and information, it's sort of simple. Then it rolls up to be very complicated. But so is this just my own personal software that understands me, that's just collecting data from all my input channels and giving me feedback loops? Like maybe it's not all figured out, but what does this mean from a practical? What does this mean at implementation level?
Yeah, so this is Vinny. This is where it gets very interesting. So about if you look at even some of the if you look at some of the new big neural networks that's being created, you say it's for a vision problem. You can actually take that trained system. It could be GPT-3, whatever system, and then you can train that on. You can customize it for specific use cases to do very specific things within a specific context, where you train it on, say, your own data and so forth, and you can calibrate that. Because basically how these systems work, obviously there's lots of layers of abstraction that's being created here, and with all the lower layers, you actually get a lot of the figuring out of, say, it's a vision problem or it's understanding of concepts and so forth. You've got neural network and machine learning systems that can actually do a lot of you can train the systems on a lot of people's data, anonymized, but then you can apply it locally as well. So you can apply it on your phone. You can apply TensorFlow, for instance, on the phone, on the edge. So that is not a problem. So what I'm thinking about here is again back to having full control and to be able to calibrate the goals of the specific. You need full control. I don't want a tech giant or some other company, because they're just optimizing for more clicks, more likes, more. And just to break it down a little bit more, in terms of the AI-driven platforms that we are developing, the personal companions, there's AI on multiple fronts. There's the human-computer interface side, where every click, everything that you do generates data. So you generate lots of data there. There's a recommendation engine that gives you information, and you act on that. But then there's a lot of data mining happening on the back end, where it works with the data that's been generated from the app, but it also integrates with other data. It could be your interest, it could be your claims data, it could be your health data, financial data, all sorts of other types of data. And so we're building systems. If we've got other types of data sources, we bring that into the mix as well. So you build kind of a 360-degree view of this particular individual. And say it's for teenage mental health, we can build a wellness profile based on all sorts of different information. And say, for instance, it's like with Journey Wellness, we not only with the AI assistant and the way you interact with the app, but as I've mentioned, you can link to insurance data or claims data, other types of information, and you can also get more information, or your wearables. I've got a smart watch here, so I'm getting more information. You can get information from there. So the question is, how can I utilize that data and then calibrate the way it's being optimized? So you obviously need a user interface where you can say, I want to define the goals, and then it could be across so many different things. It could be, say, I want the system, the companion, to support me in decisions, to figure things out, or just on an educational level, or just sense making, or if you think about character strengths, building virtues. If you've got specific goals in terms of well-being, that's not just focused on maybe what you eat and drink and who you talk to, what you engage, what you read, what you watch, all those kind of things, but also in terms of character, where you can reflect and those kind of things. So it could become, I think that the space there's so much data that could be utilized for your own benefit in proper ways. And obviously you're not going to get it right from the start, but you can slowly but surely you can build a system like that, where you unlock your data, you've got control of the data, you've got control of the AI assistant, and you can control your digital connections. That's why with Sapiens, I specifically refer to those three pieces. And currently it's not clear. Your data is everywhere. When I go to my regular visits, say annual visits, I always try to get all my blood tests and all those kind of things. But the doctor's got a copy, I've got a copy. My bank's got my financial data, not all of it because I'm a few banks. Right. My investment portfolios in different places. It's kind of all over the place. So I think just there's opportunity to have a bit more control, and I think it's going to be needed.
This is exciting because I'm as you're talking, I'm thinking, okay, if I started the business tomorrow with this in mind, I could see, well, first of all, a huge market. Obviously, you do too. This is why you're doing it. But also and for good. And just thinking through practical applications. I mean, now I'm thinking, okay, how do we consume information and get ideas and get thoughts? Yes. Well, I sit in front of a computer. Many of us still have PCs on our desk. Okay. Maybe it's a browser extension because you'd have to own the operating system to do everything. Maybe maybe you're not going to beat Microsoft at the beginning, but maybe it's your own browser and you install the plugin
100%.
And it's watching what you're watching, and so it can at least understand what you're consuming. So when a anti-vax thing or a pro-vax thing comes up, maybe there's some dialogue or some like personalized text that's popping up like, well, did you really, you might want to check this or that, and it kind of can maybe deflate some of the, excitement bias you might have by seeing that. Or on your phone, you have a plugin installed, and when, a teenage girl from across on Facebook insults you on Instagram, hey, you look fat, it sends you a bunch of like, well, why was she saying that? Maybe, it sends you links to say hurt people, which I love that line, it's like, I just can see a ton of applications where, and I have no idea if this is even what you're thinking, but I could just see it have to be in all the ways we interface and get data. It would almost have to be understanding, listening, saying, Vinny, I know you're really susceptible to those kind of jokes, or you don't like that. But exactly. So maybe know where this person. Like I could see, I can see some really cool applications there.
And even if you think about just monetization, you currently do have some browsers, some third-party browsers that's coming out to try and democratize, where they say advertising, for instance. We know that Google and Facebook and some of these companies make their money with advertising. Mainly. And if you say in a Sapiens decentralized system like this, the monetization could be via advertising as well. You can be selling anonymized data, and especially if you've got lots of people in this community, it's like the whole world or the Western world, whatever, that's where it's anonymized, but it's controlled, but you share in the benefits of, we know the wealth being created with advertising for Google and Facebook and many other companies as well. There's incredible opportunity to tap into that. So that is just a starting point. Right. So obviously there could be all sorts of transactions, and this is why I'm also talking about if you've got transactions between hyper-connected users or businesses or service providers via smart contracts in a Sapiens decentralized, distributed ledger-based ecosystem, then you've got opportunities to monetize further. It's not just advertising. It's not selling anonymized data or services, but subscriptions, transactions, and you can get a little bit of the fees on transactions as well, where maybe some of your data and some of the things are being utilized. So I think it's incredible opportunities, and you can obviously take it from individual level to virtual groups to smart towns to obviously for businesses as well. A business can have its own AI system as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then you've got, if it's like decentralized autonomous organizations as well, where you've got systems that try and optimize while you sleep. It's because it knows your goals. It's trying to figure out where's the opportunities for you, and it will sell data maybe there if you give it approval.
Right.
Well, we can create a world where it's that's just great for everyone. So,
this is so interesting. Yeah, you said the sleep thing. I mean, if again the data that's available right now that parents don't have, schools don't have, where again I go back to the teenage girl thing because it's such a big thing. Just hearing my friends talk, it's like if that person went through X, Y, and Z websites that day and their friends said X, Y, and Z and they slept and because we're instrumented, it realized the heart rate was elevated. The person did not get into REM sleep for 3 days. There's already data saying what you saw is damaging your body. How do we address that?
100%.
And it really creates that holistic picture of how do we adjust to be happier and optimize for and then what and then just kind of continue and just absolutely. Yeah, some exciting possibilities there. Neat, very neat stuff.
I want to focus my mind on there because I just see opportunities, and we need people to just show the way. So. Yeah.
I'm sending my resume. This is exciting. This is really neat. There's so many ideas, and it's obviously it's coming or it's here. And but it's the angle to do good and to just have that be like the paramount objective, and it seems like you absolutely do so.